On the way out of Honolulu, we, as Ostino and Passiona, noted thousands upon thousands of monks spaced about 10 feet apart along the road to the airport. Someone important would be coming by in a while. The monks were in the airport too, and on the tarmac as well, many even along the runway.
How do we hear music? As if we had earphones from iPods?
It's the old GrandMaster, he can do that. See that man getting out of the limo and approaching the black jet?
That's him?
Yes. He retired at age 100 from the leadership of the Ninja Empire to do some other things, within or without.
What things?
Well, let's just say that I wouldn't want to be the head of state where that plane lands.
The jet has missiles attached.
It has 16 fire-and-forget Hellfire missiles on it, plus 3 other firing systems on it. That particular jet is called the Angel of Death.
Where's he going?
No one knows, but wherever he goes, the world will be a much better place after he does whatever he has to do.
Will it be done with the jet?
No, not likely unless attacked.
How then will this one old guy do anything?
He will arrive on the breeze as soft as the wind, bestow his blessing, then evaporate like the water afterwards. For the most part, hopefully never seen and never known.
Or he will die trying.
Perhaps, but then all the other Grandmasters will try in turn.
Godspeed.
I'll tell you the whole story on the flight back to Chicago. These are desperate times. 13.75 years of evolution are at stake, for we have not yet colonized space.
We're not gonna make it?
The TOE Center was able to determine the future of humankind given the present state.
And
humankind again had no future, for they no longer existed.
The populace of the New Iran could no longer be shielded from the real world by the clerics and the Holy Supreme Leader, for they had the internet, and had even adopted some of the freedoms of Western ways. Yet the crackdowns had still been working, to some extent, but when the nuclear reactors had been destroyed, the billions wasted on their construction had become quite apparent, as well as the fact that Iran had plenty of oil and didn't even need them, but to attempt destruction. Yet to easily squash this sentiment, the clerics stirred up some of the old anti-American feelings, and added to the ever-present hatred of Israel. Furthermore, they closed the Straits of Hormuz, first by just declaring it, and more finally through a naval battle in which they of course lost, which blocked it. Even though the center of the straits was in international waters, it had become clogged with the debris of sunken ships, and had become totally unusable. Non-nuclear missiles, some containing poison gas, had meanwhile been launched upon Israel, doing quite a bit of death and damage. Israel then laid waste to more of Iran. At first, the Sunnis did not so much mind the downfall of the Shiites, but for their joint antagonism for the West. But then Israel repelled more attacks from the other Arab nations, and then some, as in 10 eyes for an eye. The Shia and the Sunni soon united against their common enemies to have OPEC halt all shipments of oil. Several months later, a massive Allied invasion of the Middle East began, while the Arabs began a counterattack against Israel and even set fire to their own oil fields, lest they be captured. Israel, about to be overrun, used tactical nukes on the approaching hordes, as well full nukes on the Middle East. Now the oil fields were also radioactive, and so of no use whatsoever for hundreds of years. During the war, the world's reserve oil supplies had much dwindled, the remaining pumps unable to keep up with the demand, much of it going to the military or to the rich, but they too eventually began to go dry. Russia mobilized, it still having oil. However, cruise missiles fired from Allied nuclear subs then destroyed its military and its refineries. In the years to come, all the world's economies failed, a minor nuclear winter ensued, infrastructures fell apart, and chaos and disease did away with much of the Earth's population in time. Global warming then climaxed and flooded what was left of all coastal cities. Canada became subtropical and thus became a refuge for a few good humans. Those left began to live simple. They hunted game and supplanted it with whatever they could grow or find. They were perhaps of a new genesis, the germ of a new world, one focused on the actual living of life. for the old distractions were now few and far between. The religious zealot kneels on his prayer mat, talking with Allah for the 6th time today. The mission is on. Many non-believers will die. The bomber purifies himself, ready to enter paradise, sure of a higher place near the great Allah. The zealot stands up. Takpara shoots him dead. Takpara easily entered one of the new and nearly complete Iranian nuclear facilities as its new janitor, having replaced the former one exactly by using the improved Botox. He began replacing the innards of the battery-operated floodlights that were for power outages. Soon they contained bombs, all 16 of them, and were near enough to the main pillars to bring down the entire structure from within. This was the only way, for there were 5 levels of reinforced steel and concrete above, which ensured that what had happened the last time could not happen again via any kind of bunker buster bombs. Takpara would activate all the timers, then depart this job as best he could. He even wrote a new Broadway musical play as he bided his time, then provided rhyme for all of John Milton's blank verse. Mid-morning finally arrived. This was it. He sent the signal to the timers, and then wheeled his janitor cart towards the elevators. He boarded, along with 2 important-looking officials, and the elevator headed up to the top.
Our supreme leader has spoken to Allah and has received approval for the complete destruction of Israel.
Just about then, they all heard the loud rumbles of the coordinated explosions, then the thunderous collapse of the imploding building as all of its layers pancaked when the support pillars were all blown away. Only the elevator stuck out of the dusty rubble, the door opening 6 stories above the now airy pit. The 2 officials quickly ran out into the dust and fell through the open air to their deaths, joining all those below that were trapped within. Takpara was soon rescued and sent by ambulance to a hospital. He decided to go to an airport instead, writing a brand new opera along the way. Then he went about solving the financial crisis, for he had a few hours to spare. The ultra-Orthodox Wahhabi sect of Islam had spread like an unruly weed across the country and beyond, choking out all forward and rational thinking, silencing all dissenters within and without the faith, and damning millions of people to a belief system that had more in common with the Stone Age than the 21st century. The flawed concept of good that now included the ever more increasing wishes of Allah, of course, had led to all of the contrary as being labeled and seen as an evil that was to be excised everywhere by God's will. Yet, there was still a source at the top that could be nipped in the bud, lest this sect grow even further, sprouting more and more weeds that would blossom with the woe that would eventually spread to the point of thickening all around until it imprisoned too many minds, like some old and unattended English garden hedgerow, whose dark clouds and roots of actual evil would then begin that which would result in the end of all life on earth. Whoever would have thought that making things up could bring so much harm upon the world? The black stealth jet, named the Angel of Death, crossed the border and landed unobserved on a long driveway in the dark at a country house maintained by the CIA in Iran. An old man, made up to appear as old as he really was, which was 100 years, stepped out and got into a dilapidated car whose floorboards on the passenger side had worn all the way through. The old man kicked them through a bit more, making the opening even larger. He drove and parked the car near the mosque, noting the men with rifles on the roof, one even with a handheld missile that could take out a helicopter. The longtime supreme leader, anointed and ordained by Allah himself, would be arriving soon on his only outing, accompanied by 4 bodyguards, 1 fore, 1 aft, and another on each side. As usual, any standers-by would know to stay clear or be harshly kicked away, and yet one old man was walking so slowly as to never make it out of the way, even with the shouts of the imams at the doors shooing him ever onward. The supreme leader arrived just then, eyeing the old man, then presumably dismissing him as not one to be concerned about. The bodyguards nevertheless hurled insults at the old man, the only effect being to stop him in his tracks, right in front of them, about 6 feet away, and still blocking the path to the doors. The lead bodyguard went up to kick the frail body to send it flying away, but the old and former Grandmaster West held onto his foot and shattered the bodyguard's knee with his cane. Before anyone on the ground could even react, and before those on the roof could come to bend and look straight down beyond and over some obstructions, the Supreme Leader was dead from a lightning chop to the throat and fell back and onto his rear bodyguard. The old man leapt over the body as if on a football run as a halfback just as an explosion went off inside.
The future that was never to be at all now continues on in another way. All is indeed an extra time from here on out, but no guideposts remain to light the way.
Whatever shall be, unless it should not be.
Ever and anon is never for sure, but you remain, rascal, as ever the butterfly at the edge of forever.
Does forever ever end, dying out? Do unbreakable basics ever wear out? Well, once every 1,000 years, the bird of time flies over Mount Everest, and on some of those occasions, a part of a feather falls down upon the mountain. When the mountain has worn itself away, the end of forever has then arrived that day. All was now back to normal, but for the exponential global warming threat. Some time had been bought.